Okay, let's have a look at how to approach an ethics question. And normally what a question says is talk about the ethical and professional matters or issues here. Okay, so this is how you answer it. Step one, you need to identify what the threat is in the question. And remember, threats are self-review, self-interest, advocacy, intimidation, and familiarity. Okay, and with all of these, it's just the more questions you do, the easier it will be to identify the threat. That's not a problem. So you've got to do lots of questions, but what I want to give you is an approach to make sure that you get all the marks. Okay, the second thing, and this is the thing that the examiner makes a big play of, you then got to work out the significance of that said threat. Okay, so when is a threat significant? Well, when it's a big amount, and it's not always just amount though. It could be if there's lots of subjectivity involved, where we are having to do something that's very subjective, and then maybe we have to review it ourselves. So if there's lots of subjectivity, it's more significant. And you also look at the seniority of people involved. So always have a look when she mentions audit partners or audit managers or audit seniors. Look at that. If it's an audit junior, then the threat isn't so great, is it? Okay, so be aware of that and talk about it. Talk about it. Then you've got to try and reduce the threat. Okay, and you reduce the threat using safeguards. Now, what I would do here, you would talk about the possible ones. And then you might say, but no matter what, we cannot reduce it to an acceptable level. But you still talk about the possible ones, okay? So talk about the possible ones and then decide, yes, this would do. Or talk about the possible ones and then say, no, this won't do, it's still not good enough. But all you've got to talk about is how to reduce it. And then finally, you've got to get the professional marks. And all that means is, do we have the skills, do we have the resources to do what's being offered? And this won't make much sense until you start to see the questions, but often they say to us something like, will you do our internal audit for us? Will you, remember one question where it said, will you look after our important documents for us? Could be anything, okay? And you've got to say, right, professionally, do I have the skills and resources to do this? Let alone the ethics. You talk all about the ethics, and then you say, after all, I am just an auditor, and I might not be very good at looking after people's documents, particularly if it's highly regulated, that sort of thing. But if you go through those 4 steps, and you have those 4 steps in mind when you're reading the answers, you'll start to realise this is how you get lots more marks than you would otherwise have got. Okay? Give it a go, folks.